Newsmax continuing coverage of Super Tuesday rolls on right here. We're so glad to have you on what is shaping up on the Republican side as a very big night for Donald Trump. As we told you right before the break, you can add the Old Dominion, the Commonwealth of Virginia, to Donald Trump's string of victories thus far this evening. We should also point out, if this is the first time you are joining us tonight for our special coverage, we hope you'll be here tomorrow night and every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern for Newsmax Prime, the program I'm honored to anchor here on Newsmax TV. But this is a very special night with Super Tuesday results and with our Newsmax TV political analyst Dick Morris, who is here with me on the anchor desk. And now we turn to some other guests who join us from across the country. First, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Politistick.com, Jennifer Burke, join us via Skype from my old stomping grounds in Arizona. And back with us now from Newsmax Washington, the chief political correspondent for USA Radio Network, Scottie Nell Hughes. And to get the Democratic side of things, Skyping in from Tampa, Florida, Democrat media strategist and the vice president of KCOM Public Relations, Franco Ripple. Jennifer, first to you. While these results may scarcely create a ripple for our friend Franco there on the Democrat side, amongst Republicans, the strength of Donald Trump picking up a hard-fought win in Virginia, winning as he has done up and down the eastern seaboard. What does that say to conservatives out west in a place like Arizona?
Well, you know, conservatives in the western part of the United States it's very different than the eastern part of the United States. So, you know, Trump was expected to run the table out of every state except Texas, where Ted Cruz has a pretty strong lead. Really what it tells people, because what I'm hearing is that in both Massachusetts and forget the other state. In Massachusetts, 20,000 Democrats actually registered as Republicans. So and most of them said they were voting for Trump. So Republicans and conservatives, Tea Partiers out west, you know, let your voice be heard. Do not be one of those people that sit back and complain later on when your guy didn't get the nomination.
And while Jennifer makes that appeal for activism, Dick, I'm going to ask our pal Franco Ripple, as he's carrying the banner of the Democrats forward. In fact, I'm going to quote my seatmate here, Dick Morris. Franco, Dick Morris has said, as things are shaking out in the Democratic Party, it's really right now not so much Hillary versus Bernie, but perhaps one day Hillary versus the FBI. Aren't you concerned about the specter of criminal charges being brought against the former Secretary of State?
Well, nice try, Dick, but I would say it's more certainly looking like it's shaping up to be Hillary versus Trump, certainly. And actually, I have to kind of go back to something Jennifer said a second ago, which is that you've got this mysterious 20,000 Democrats who are registering as Republicans, leaving the Democratic Party in droves, registering as Republicans to vote for Trump. I don't know what the laws are in Massachusetts, but if they allow registration on or near the day of the election, it's a pretty good chance they're registering as Republicans to try to vote for anybody other than Trump, which is what any sane Democrat would do. So, you know, I think she said that there's a big difference between conservatives out east and out west. It's very unusual. It's an extraordinary year that someone like Donald Trump is able to carry both Alabama and Massachusetts, as well as states out west, too. It's very unusual. To me, the strangest number is that Trump carried 52% of Catholics in Massachusetts, days after insulting the Pope. So anything's up for grabs this year.
Well, now, Dick, I got to get your response to Franco.
First, in Massachusetts, what happens is that you have the independents who on primary day can go to either party and then switch back. I handled Bill Weld as a Republican and Ed King as a Democrat, and they oscillate back and forth. But listen, come on. The entire Democratic contest has featured debate after debate, and all the issues are aired. Income inequality, PAC contributions, Hillary speeches, all that stuff. But nobody mentions the FBI. There's this sort of wolf at the door that C-SPAN and MSNBC bar from the room. That is the possibility that she may be indicted, or if not indicted, because the Justice Department won't indict a Democratic nominee, They may recommend an indictment, and that recommendation is going to be spread throughout the country. And if she's not indicted, you may have a Saturday night massacre like Nixon faced when his attorney general and deputy resigned, only this time from the FBI. Until or unless that happens, Bernie Sanders isn't dead. Whoever's on the ballot opposite Hillary Clinton cannot be finished until that particular shoe, hiking boot, drops.
Yeah, what about,
well,
could be a
Dick may
hiking
not
boot?
Be a Democrat, but as a Democrat, I can tell you the reason why you don't hear our folks, our candidates, talking about this on the campaign trail with voters or in these debates is because we prefer not to spend our time on manufactured political crises such as the one you're referring to. We like to spend our time talking about some of the issues you mentioned. Yes,
You're right,
like income
Franco.
inequality.
It's totally manufactured that the FBI is examining her. It's totally manufactured that 150 agents are assigned to the case. It's totally manufactured that her three top staffers are going to have to testify under oath, and she might have to too. I don't know where I got this fantasy. We should be talking about the issues like climate change, right, Franco?
Indeed, we should. We should be talking about climate change, especially as I sit here in Florida, where many parts of our country are about to become inundated over the next couple of years. It's more an issue, perhaps, Dick, for my generation than for yours.
Well, I will tell you what, I thought that the climate change in the rest of the country kind of inures to Florida's benefit, Franco, in terms of folks coming to the Sunshine State to enjoy the aforementioned sunshine. One friendly amendment, Dick, it's not so much a hiking boot dropping as a Birkenstock for the folks on the left.
Okay.
But let me bring in Scottie Nell Hughes, who has been waiting patiently, sitting there at Newsmax, Washington.
You know, maybe it's neither. Maybe it's a flip-flop.
Could be a flip-flop. Well, that's a whole nother story. Let's turn the conversation back to the big winner tonight thus far on the Republican side, Donald Trump. Now, Scottie Nell, if you heard Jennifer, she seemed to be sounding a call to action for Western conservatives, and I don't want to read more into it, but she seemed to be saying, hey, conservatives, come on and get involved, and that may not mean an automatic vote for Trump. Your take on how Donald Trump is able to unify Republicans, unify conservatives, Scottie Nell, in the weeks ahead?
Well, Governor Jan Brewer, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, there are no better conservatives in the state of Arizona than those two in the example they have set, and they have strongly endorsed Mr. Trump. We're seeing right now, and to Planko's point, Massachusetts right now, if they did cross over, I guarantee they probably voted for Mr. Trump, not running away. Massachusetts, Trump's at 47% right now, with Kasich at 18%. So I would not sit there and say that they crossed over to vote against Mr. Trump. They actually probably, if anything, helped. But I think that shows the diversity of it. We can talk about all these social issues. We can talk about all of these other issues. But what's important right now is strengthening our border, securing our country, and being able to actually provide jobs so that we can provide for our families. Those two issues, the economy and security, the top two issues. And it doesn't matter what political party you're a part of. It's who presents the idea and the best plan. And so far, Mr. Trump has done it, and his message is resonating. Whether you live on the East Coast or the West Coast, we're all Americans.
Jennifer Burke, I don't want to read in more to what you were saying, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth. Maybe you can clear this up for us. But to Scottie's point about Donald Trump picking up the support of Joe Arpaio, picking up the support of former Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, and speaking definitively early on about border security. That's a pretty persuasive argument to a lot of folks out west, is it not?
Well, it is, but when you live in the state of Arizona, the grassroots in Arizona, frankly, were shocked at the Arpaio endorsement. I mean, look, many of them. Jan Brewer, grassroots conservatives, Tea Partiers in Arizona really didn't see her as a really, really strong conservative, especially, in fact, the whole Obama pointing her finger at him at the tarmac. I've talked to many in the grassroots that said this is all staged because they followed. I've only lived here for 4 years, but they followed Jan Brewer very, very closely. And as far as border security, yeah, Trump catapulted himself in front of the pack with that, which is why it's a little bit disturbing that he seems not only in this reported New York Times secret interview, but also during an interview with Sean Hannity saying, everything is negotiable. He's Mr. Let's make a deal. So exactly what part of this huge stance he took against illegal immigration and building a wall is negotiable.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the big question that lots of conservative grassroots are asking themselves.
By the way, I'm sitting here next to a former congressman from Arizona who has lived in the state for 1,000 years, and I would take his word about Arizona.
But what I can say in defense of Jennifer Burke, for purposes of full disclosure, during our days with the TeaParty.net, she was a most active new Arizonan, and certainly keeping track of that. Let me turn to you, Dick Morris, because we are getting word tonight that perhaps the closest contest is coming down in Arkansas, where it appears that Ted Cruz and Donald Trump are locked in a very close battle. Now, I know there were some projections that put Cruz on top in Arkansas. Can the Texas senator hang on to one of his neighboring states tonight?
Well, I believe that I believe Cruz will be competitive in Arkansas and in Oklahoma, which are bordering states.
Check, I'm sorry, I made a mistake in relating this to people. Quite frankly, it is Marco Rubio.
No, but that's 1%.
Of course, it's 1% of the vote coming in.
But in answer to your question, you have two states that border on Texas, Oklahoma and Arkansas, and there are some chance for Cruz in both of those. I might note that with 1% in Texas, which is still only 1%, no matter which state you look at, Cruz is doing exactly what the poll says, 37, 27, 21, with Trump at 27 and Cruz at 37. It would be quite a tribute to Ted Cruz that in this hurricane of support for Donald Trump, he holds a huge state like Texas closely to him. And bear in mind, he's just been senator there for a few years. Quite an incredible performance if he does that.
We would